Okay. So we're talking here about the portion of Vayikra, which is the first portion of the third book of Moses. The entire portion is quite difficult to relate. Why? Because we're talking about sacrifices. And even though we know that there are a lot of the things that were happening back then could have happened on a literal sense, but really had a spiritual meaning. And this is going to be just another great illustration where we can take something that could have been practiced 3,000-4,000 years ago, but is not practiced today. I mean, on the altar and the tabernacle and the temple. So the first and second temple have been destroyed for thousands of years. And since then, there are no such sacrifices. And so even though there are sort of like the description and going through the details of how the Kohen, the high priest, is doing those sacrifices, the Kabbalists explain that for us, the way that it relates to us is that we're not sacrificing an animal, and we're not speaking on a literal concept. We are really dealing with levels of connections of light. So I'll read the verses 51 and 52, just for us to get like a grasp, even if we don't understand a word, but it's still okay. Because as we're mentioning the words, we're mentioning the different lights that are being revealed, our soul is elevating and connecting. רבי חזקיה הווה שכיח כמד רבי שמעון, אמר לה, העיד יקרא קורבן קירוב מבאלה. Rabbi Chizkiah was in the presence of Rabbi Shimon, and he said to him, that which is called an offering or a sacrifice is in Hebrew, or in the language of the Torah, korban. Should have been titled bringing near, keruv in Hebrew, or drawing near, which comes from the word krivut. When then it is called an offering, korban. So why call it korban? And he responded, it is known amongst the friends that an offering is the drawing near of those holy crowns, namely the Sfirot, Chesed, Gvura, Tiferet, Netzach, Hod, Yesod, and Malchut. And so when we're speaking about a sacrifice, when we take the original term that was used in the Torah, which is korban, korban comes from the word להקריב, or krivut. And krivut means drawing near, or getting something close to something else. And so the purpose of the korban, the purpose of the sacrifice is entirely to bring an individual, or the spiritual work of an individual closer to the light. How? When a person is making that offering to what? Offering to whom? So we're saying, making an offering to God or to the Creator. And so, the terms, when we are working on ourselves, when we are doing teshuvah, when we are working on a karma, on the corrections that our soul has committed to face, to confront, and heal in this lifetime, This is the korban. This is the sacrifice that we're making, which as a result, as a mean to the end of making us closer to the light. We have used countless of times the shivui tzura, which means the affinity of form, that we're making ourselves similar to the light force of the Creator. And so when we are doing this korban, when we are working on those different corrections, those different karmic depths that we have, then we are elevating ourselves to those different layers of sfirot that we call sfirot, Chesed, Gvura, Tiferet, Netzach, Hod, Yesod, Malchut, which is drawing us near, or the soul is always near because it is typical, identical to the essence of the light. And so it is when we do those sacrifices, we're removing those layers, that we are elevating ourselves to be closer, to be nearer to the light. So every time going forward that you would hear sacrifice in the Torah, in the Bible, you would know probably more than anybody else out there that would listen to to a priest or a rabbi preaching about the portion of this week that is about sacrifices. You would know that it has nothing to do with sacrificing animals, but it is actually doing our spiritual work, which as an end result would make us closer, nearer to the light force of the Creator. So far so good. Any questions? Great. And so we are all drawn together and mutually connected until they all form a perfect unity, to that the holy name be properly set. This is the meaning of an offering to Hashem. An offering is the drawing near of those holy crowns, Chesed, Gvura, Tiferet, Netzach, Hod, Yesod, Malchut, to Yud Ke Vav Ke, which is pertaining to mercy, denoting the central column. Thus this holy name may be perfected and unified properly, so that mercy can prevail throughout the worlds, and the holy name will assume its crowns to perfume everything. So when we are correcting a tikkun, something that we came to fix, to correct, it is always from the aspect of gvura. Gvura, which means judgment. So when you say to somebody, I'm dumbing this down a little bit. So when you say to somebody, I love you, you create a bubble of mercy, a bubble of energy of positive, optimistic, loving nature. When you get upset and when you judge or you get into a victim mode, you're creating a similar bubble, but it is opposite to the energy of mercy. It is of an energy of judgment. It is of the energy of taking, receiving for the self alone. So both are energies and both have an essence to receive. It's just that when we get closer, as we get closer to the physical world that is called Malchut, judgment becomes negative as we know it. But in essence, the level of Gvura is a higher realm than what we know. So if you take, for instance, Chesed, Gvura is the highest sphere of mercy and judgment, and probably that we would not encounter or taste with our conscious human mind, because it is a much more elevated state. The only mercy and judgment that we know, that we're accustomed to, is on the level of Malchut. So the level of mercy is already corrupted by the 1%. So whatever, and to the extent, to the greatest extent of what you know of love and mercy, has nothing to do. It's like light years away from the true essence of the energy of mercy and love. To extrapolate a little bit, it's like, those people that have, and I don't wish this to anybody, unless it's the right time, but to anybody to experience the near-death experience, they all come back and they say, basically the same thing. The amount of the extent of love and mercy that they felt, which is nothing that could come close to anything that they have experienced in this physical reality. And so that is a glimpse, by the way, because when they come back, they're still, with the lenses, of the physical, of the human mind, right? So it's already altered and it's already dumbed down, or it's already filtered down to really what this energy of chesed, of the energy of love truly is. But when we're talking here about, when we're making these offerings, when we're working on ourselves to cleanse those different layers of tikkunim, of karma, of corrections, this is literally where the soul travels to, elevates to. And ultimately, in some forms or fashion, it is downloading as a result into every aspect of our life, like a little, drops of rain, of energetical rain that comes down as a result of our making, of our transformation as we go through this process. And the same goes for Gvura. And so the energy of Gvura is like in its initial essential form, when it comes directly from the Creator, which is at the basis of what judgment was meant. It is not comparable to anything that we know as judgment in this physical reality, because anything in the physical reality would translate as judgment is bad, judgment hurts, judgment is pain, which is, by the way, true. The way that we experience judgment is from the aspect of what we call Elohim. And Elohim is an aspect of revelation of God in the physical reality, where the Yud Kevavke is an aspect of revelation of the Creator on the level of Zir Anpin, which is when we are on a more elevated state. And so when we go through our tikkun in this physical reality, it is from the physical human lenses that we go through a challenge, or we go through a discomfort, and we don't assimilate it, we don't connect it, translate it as something that is good. The same as, if you are like in a company, you work in a company with employees and managers and whatnot. And so everybody, it's a competition and, and goals and results and whatever. And this is how we are basically being measured. And so when you're successful at what you do, you have accomplished a certain project, a certain goal, job, you get usually rewarded. If it's not just like a tap on the back or a thank you, usually it's like a bonus or like a slum check or money, financial bonuses or whatnot, to be thankful for, to reward whatever it is that you have accomplished. And we're very happy to take credit for the good that we have done. But when the outcome or the project or the goal has not been achieved, we are not as eager to take as much credit. It is not as easy to take credit for something that fails than to take credit for something that we were successful at. That is true in the physical reality. In the spiritual reality, because there is no judgment/punishment, we own everything that we've done. And so this is why prior to being, let's call it, downloaded into this lifetime, or other people call it reincarnation, incarnated in this body, in this life cycle, prior to coming, the soul is bringing on. I can do anything that you would like put in front of me, and I'm taking on like this 1,000 and 1,500 of different challenges and confrontation. I can do this on the level of the soul because there is not an ounce of grudge, of victimness, of pain. The soul just sees opportunities. The soul just sees growth for every single one of these barrier, of these walls, of these people that are going to be nasty to me, of the people that are going to betray me and steal from me and cheat on my business and whatnot. From the level of the soul, there is only one word: opportunity for growth, elevation of the soul, to be closer, to be nearer to the light force of the Creator. It literally sees all this list of countless challenges and difficulties in this physical reality as necessary evils or necessary sacrifices that would be the means to the end to make us closer to the light. So, we have some concepts or some phrases to go along with that in our physical human verbiage, such as, no pain, no gain. We're familiar with that, right? And everybody agrees. It's like translates perfectly into my intellect. No pain, no gain. I don't believe in coincidence. Everything happens for a reason and for good reason. It's especially if we're spiritual, right? We believe that everything that happens to us to help us grow until it hurts. Until it hurts. Until somebody disagrees with me, until somebody disrespects me, until somebody doesn't give me the voice of expressing myself, until somebody betrays me, lies to me, and takes something without asking permission. I mean, we see it from the youngest age, and we see it, until basically we die. We have those human values and principles that we call them that are, sort of like the flags of our emotional state. And so if somebody is very close and near to those principles and values, which are important to have as a basis, but as soon as somebody crosses us and does not respect one of those values, we take those things personally. When we don't see them, we don't perceive them as opportunities anymore. When we are cool and when we are positive and spiritual and everything goes our way and it goes great, everything that I said sounds great. I love that. No pain, no gain. Great. Love this. 10 out of 10. Everything happens for a reason. Great. I embrace this. That's my school. I love this. Until it doesn't go my way. Just to say it this way, to say it in a simple way. But this is what the Zohar here continues in saying. All this is done to awaken mercy and not to awaken judgment. And so, in essence, when we are spiritually immature, we would translate a challenge into judgment. When we are, and the more mature we become spiritually, every challenge becomes an opportunity. Certainly, the more that you could imagine yourself as being the most spiritual ever, to the utmost of your capacity, there are a lot of things your perfected self will be able to handle without the intensity, without the reactiveness, without the anger, without the pain. If you are to tap into your best self, each one of us has a better version, right? The best version of me that exists right now. We're just, working. It's a work in progress for us to elevate to that place that we can become the best version of ourselves. We're not there yet. I'm not there yet. But I know that the best version of me, just bring it on. Bring it on. That's all you got. This is how we would talk to what we call the opponent, the ego, the desire to receive for the self alone. And we would see that every trigger, every individual, every situation is actually an opportunity that I can not only handle, but brush off as, it's not affecting me as much as it does right now. All this is done to awaken mercy and not to awaken judgment. Therefore, it is the Yud Kevavke and not to Elohim. For Yud Kevavke indicates mercy while Elohim indicates judgment, and we require mercy and no judgment. So for all of you that have, taken countless of classes, and I'm not just talking about, Kabbalah classes, life classes, sometimes the street rule, that we learn through experience makes us gain wisdom. And we can say, I know better. And after we react, we're like, I know better. How could I get so reactive? So it's like we have all the knowledge. There is something that my daughter, who is 6, she's learning about temper, reaction, and the opponent. And she's using those words when she's getting upset and angry. She's Aries, God bless her. And, when she doesn't get away, she says, while she's upset, she says, I cannot control it. It's out of my control. And she realizes that this aspect of us, the reactive nature, is there, but it's not there for good. This is something that we can work on. And it's something else that she says. I don't know if she learned it from me. Probably yes. But she would say, practice makes perfect. Right? We know this, right? That's all it takes. Practice. We have all the knowledge. We have all the tools. We have all the know-how. We have the experience. We have the contrast of when we lose it, how it makes us feel, and when we don't give in, and when we don't give our power away, how it feels. And so practice makes perfect. I could sit here basically, on a daily basis, talk to you about the same exact thing, and you're going to agree with me. Thank you very much. But then when the challenge comes, we forget ourselves. And the practice is to remember, not when everything is great and you are actually, in a good mood. The test and the practice is to remember when we're about to lose it. And you know what? If a 6-year-old can do it, you can do it too. Rabbi Chizkiah said, happy is my portion that I have asked and merited these words. It is a clear explanation, but it is not written. The sacrifices of Elohim are a broken spirit, a broken and a contrite heart. Elohim, you will not despise. Those it is written, the sacrifices of Elohim instead of the sacrifices of Hashem. So it is important for us to, I'll just get back to the previous verse where it says, all this is done to awaken mercy and not to awaken judgment. Therefore, it is to Yud Kevavke and not to Elohim. For Yud Kevavke indicates mercy while Elohim indicates judgment. And we require mercy and not judgment. And so when we do the spiritual work, we do our connections, we do our positive deeds, it elevates our consciousness because the soul tunes in to the likeness of the Creator. And when we tune in to the likeness of the Creator, which is to share, to forgive, to be merciful, to be understanding, to be patient, it is to be in the likeness of the Creator. This is the definition of the human being has been created in the image of God. This is what it means. It is the soul that is in the likeness of the Creator. The body consciousness is not in the likeness of the Creator. The body consciousness is the desire to receive for the self alone, and it is the enemy of the soul, but it is also the tool of the soul, which is kind of confusing. Why is it confusing? Because the soul, which is in the likeness of the Creator, has to consistently experience and breathe through the consciousness of the body and still remain uplifted above the nature of the body. So it's like, imagine that you get into a room. I apologize for the example that just came to my mind, but I'm going to share it anyway. Imagine you come into a room, you come into the kitchen, and I don't know, you've cooked fish or whatever like the night before, and you left it in the trash. You didn't throw it out, and basically it stayed there to rot overnight. Not a big deal most of the time. But there are times you wake up, you get into the kitchen, and it stinks. It stinks, right? So in that moment, I'm telling you, in spite of the stink, you need to connect to the smell that is above the stinky fish. Because your soul doesn't experience anything that is physical, does it? It doesn't experience pain. It doesn't experience anything that the body consciousness experiences. This is pretty confusing. Through the body consciousness experience, I need to experience the soul. That takes a lot of practice, and maybe some people, maybe you, are able to detach when you meditate, when you do yoga, when you do something that elevates your consciousness and makes you disconnect from, anything that is physical. Some people can experience out of a body. Some people can reach the place of that we call Theta, where we connect to, by the way, each time that we go to sleep, but we're not exactly aware of it. So it is in between that phase where you're alert and awake and conscious to the place that you are, drifting and you fall asleep and you disconnect completely from anything that is physical. Imagine and think about it like some people that are, extremely tired, and they can fall asleep in a room or in a place that is playing music out loud as there was no tomorrow. And you're wondering, how is this kid or how is this person falling asleep with all this noise? When we fall asleep, it's a great example, by the way. When we fall asleep, we detach completely from anything that is physical, including noise. Because in the spiritual realm, there is no such a thing as noise. It's comparable to something that would be nothing, but in that state of nothing is everything. And only in that state of nothingness can you connect to that energy, to that state of consciousness that is everything. Practice makes perfect. So the more we practice meditation and detachment, not as a form of escape. We don't want to escape because all the opportunities are here, but only to give us the ability that when we are facing a certain challenge that used to get us like triggered in a second and get upset and annoyed and short and whatever, I'm becoming more able to emotionally detach from something rather than get reactive. I'm not talking about detach emotionally from the good things, love, compassion, forgiveness. On the contrary, that would increase as well. And so what the Zohar here says is that we have basically two forms of connecting to God. You can connect to God through Elohim, or you can connect to God through the Yud Kei Vav Kei. Connecting to God through Elohim, it's trying to connect to God through all the challenges that are in the physical reality. Extremely hard. Very difficult to see God in everything that's happening today. Watch what's happening in the news, on Facebook, politics, economy, the virus. How can you see God through all those challenges? Or you can experience God through the Yud Kei Vav Kei, which is a more elevated state that we call Zeir Anpin, that each and every single one of us can connect to when we elevate. So for most of us to just do like this and to say, I want to connect to the Yud Kei Vav Kei is not as easy, but practice makes perfect when we do certain rituals on a daily basis. It's like going to the gym. Right now, if you ask me to lift 100 pounds just like that, I might be able to, like to move it an inch. But if I practice on a daily basis, within a couple of months, I might be able to do it. Spiritually, it works the same way. Spiritual gym. Spiritual gym is exactly that. What kind of a practice, what kind of a ritual do you have on a daily basis that can allow you to elevate to the level of what we call Zeir Anpin, which is the spiritual state, that would help you to start experiencing mercy and judgment on the level of the Yud Kei Vav Kei. There are some people that can naturally do it, right? There are some people that are positive by nature, and if you have like this person that is acting in a horrendous way, you always have your companion or your partner that is like the devil's advocate, giving reasons why this person is getting reactive and treating you like an animal, or being abusive, or so this person is being abusive, oh, maybe he's having a bad day. In this moment that this person is hurtful, you don't want to think, oh, maybe he's having a bad day, because right now you feel the pain. But you always have somebody to give you the contrast. You see, there is a better way. It's not the person telling you. The universe is telling you there is a better way. You can experience that judgment from the Yud Kei Vav Kei, from a place that is more positive and more innate. It is in you. If it is being shown to you, it's because you can do it. It's not to show you that there is a person that's better than you. It is to show you that it can be done. Two ways that we can experience the Creator. Obviously, we would prefer to experience the Creator from a place of mercy and even judgment from an elevated state. Connecting to a place of judgment is that you see the good in it. Connecting to the place of judgment from the place of Elohim, which is the physical reality, there is no good in the bad. There is no good. We don't see it. In this moment, I can, maybe afterwards when I'm coming down, it's easier, like to step out and to say, okay, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have. I love this person, I reacted and I lost it and I said all those things that I regret. But we can start making better choices. Sometimes it is harder, like my daughter is saying, it's harder for me. Like it's out of my control, but practice makes perfect. The more we practice spirituality, the more we'll get to a place that we naturally elevate and we don't react as much. Anyway, any questions? Cool. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining today. And we'll meet again next week at the same time. Have a beautiful week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You too, Yehuda.
Thank you.
Thank you.